今天这一集就让我跟 Nick 来分享该如何回答让我们又爱又恨的面试问题，也就是 What are your greatest strengths and weaknesses? Hello, 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast. I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. This is episode 3 of 3 on our 3-part interview series looking at the classic interview questions, the mindset behind them, and what we can learn from their structure. Today is the classic dreaded question of what are your greatest strengths and weaknesses? These are classic questions, but they're also classic in the sense that most people get them horrifically wrong.
Absolutely. 我们又爱又恨这两个问题吧。爱的是什么呢？ What are your greatest strengths, right? 我们喜欢讲自己的一些长处嘛。但是呢，很恨的问题就是我们到底自己的 weakness到底要怎么讲，要讲什么比较好。那今天呢，就来跟大家聊一聊到底这些问题的背后的意义是什么，面试官想要听到什么，还有你该怎么去准备这些问题才是最好的方式，才是最有效的方式。So let's start with what's your greatest strength? So the real question that behind this question is, do you really know yourself? 了解自己吗？还有 do you know what we're doing here?
And similar to that application question, that second piece is the most important thing.
Yeah.
If your greatest strength makes you a superpower at something, but it has nothing to do with what that company needs from you, it's not a good fit.
Yeah, it's not relevant at all, right? 所以我觉得还蛮有趣的。其实就算你今天要回答我的长处在哪里，这个还是要跟这个工作、跟这个公司、这个 interviewer要非常大的关系。So basically, when you answer, you have to answer with the job description in mind. And go easy on the adjectives. I think Nick can definitely agree with that. Go easy on the adjectives, but give concrete examples.
Yes, that second major mistake that people make is that they just start listing off strengths. Like, I'm very motivated, I'm hardworking, I'm detail-oriented.
Yes.
First of all, the question is usually actually just what's your greatest strength, singular. Because if it's strengths, then they're not the greatest. They are just a general good thing. But your greatest strength is that key thing that's for them.
Yeah.
But also, it shouldn't take a long time for you to describe. You should be able to give really concrete examples of where you put this to work and how that would work for the company.
所以咯，我们来回答这个问题之前，你还是要看好job description 是什么。第二个就是我们用形容词啊，不要用太多，你不用给5个，你给1个，但是请给足够的 example 去 support 你给的这个形容词。比如说你今天要形容 I am super trustworthy, then give example. 你必须要去证明人家是怎么样去可以来相信你。Let's take a look at an example then.Let's say today's job description is I want someone to be able to plan and execute tasks on your own. So this company 今天这个公司在找一个他能够自己去策划，他也能够去做执行的一个人。So actually something that we look for as well.
It's something that we look for, but if someone's like, I'm a self-starter, and be like, tell me about a project that you self-started, and they cannot very quickly give me a concrete example, then you're like, how self-starting are you? But if someone's like, I'm a self-starter, over the last 2 years, I had to plan and execute more than 20 projects where I had to personally coordinate between 3 to 5 different departments. And these projects all generated about $1 million in revenue for the company. Right there, okay, plan, execute, coordination. These are all key skills, but they're centered around what this one person had to do. If they'd be like, I had to create the team, or I had to plan everything from zero, develop the team, coordinate across departments, and execute, then I'll believe self-starter.
Yeah.
But if someone was like, oh, I was on 3 different projects that generated $20 million for the company. That sounds impressive, $20 million for the company, but you were a part of 3 teams doesn't tell me you're a self-starter. So make sure that your example and your numbers are directly coordinated to your strength.
所以咯，如果这一题的答案你只是说，Oh, I'm a self-starter, I'm super motivated, I can do things on my own， 只是这样讲的话，没有任何的 example 的话 ，it's completely useless. Yeah, it's just a bunch of adjectives， 只是一大堆形容词而已。所以咯，你去学了这些形容词，不用太多，选一个，但是 please give some really concrete example, just like what Nick mentioned earlier. So let's talk about the question that we all hate to answer. What's your greatest weakness?
What are the key reasons most people get this question wrong? One of the key reasons that most people get this question wrong is because they don't understand why the company is asking this question. They may think, oh, I need to show them that I am understanding of my weaknesses and I can overcome them, or I have a plan. Sometimes that's true. But actually, in recent decades, because so many people expect this answer, what a company is looking for in asking this is, are you going to tell me the truth? Are you going to give me a real answer, or do you have some formulaic, like, oh, I'm so detail-oriented?
Yeah, absolutely. 那在这本书呢 James Reed 的书他就讲到一个很有趣的一个 interview between Katie Couric and President Obama. 他那个时候 Katie Couric asked him, what's your greatest weakness? 那个时候呢 Obama 他就回答 you know, I think my paperwork management skill needs to be improved. 那这个 interviewer 马上就说 Come on, you can do better than that. 也意思就是说，当你给一个非常 half-ass answer, let's just say, 好像一个没有那么的 an answer that doesn't actually affect anyone, 你给这样子的 answer 的话，其实听到的人也会觉得你到底有没有认真在回答我这个问题 Like, give me a real answer. 那当然这个时候你在回答的时候你就必须要了解说 make it clear that this weakness will not bother you that much and you're actually working on it. 你现在正在努力的去学习如何能够让这个 weakness 变成不是你的 weakness 或者你去如何去改变它
Or you have a general self-awareness of it. Because this also comes to where a lot of people will name a weakness that's not related to the company.
Yeah.
And they think this is a very slick, intelligent way to avoid the answer. But like your greatest strength, if you don't have an awareness of what the company cares about or needs, and you start talking about things that are off, when they find your real weakness, they will not see that as, oh, this is our fault for not seeing it. They'll just see it as, well, this is a problem that you were not aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, 有很多人觉得好像回答这个问题的时候一定要讲 Oh, I'm a perfectionist, right? Or I work too hard. I care too much. These kind of questions. 那当然这个请不要再用这些作为我们的一些这个 answer 因为听起来它就不是真实的 weakness 而且听起来你好像这个人并没有很认真的去了解自己的缺点在哪里 or 如果今天这个工作职位是要找 data analysis 然后你今天跟他讲说 I'm not really good at sales well that has nothing to do with data analysis.
Well then great, we're not applying to the sales department. One interesting thing that James Reed brings up and that a lot of people need to consider is sometimes when a company asks you this question, the interviewer already has an idea of what your weakness is based on either pre-interviews or your CV, your resume. they may assume there are certain things that, okay, you talked about what you're great on your resume, but you didn't cover these. So is this just a skill you don't have, or is this a weakness of yours? So they already maybe have thought about what your weaknesses are, and if you don't cover them or get ahead of that problem, then they'll just think, not self-aware.
Yeah. Let's say, for example, 有些人可能必须会在职场上面休息了一段时间 take a couple years off, right? 那你的 CV 上面一定会有个 career gap, 你时间上会有个 gap. 那当然咯，这个时候 interviewer 他们在看你的 CV 的时候，他们已经看到了这个问题。当他在问你这个 What's your greatest weakness? 你就可以利用这个时间去回答你的这个 career gap.Actually answer that weakness that's really obvious using this opportunity to do that. Okay, so let's use that example, all right? I wanted to explain the gap on my CV, and it's quite obvious. I took 2 years off. 我2年的时间没有在职场上面. So right off the bat, you can just say, in fact, I took 2 years off in my career to raise a family, but in those 2 years of time, I constantly read a lot of information online about this industry, and I took a lot of online lessons to hone my skills and to better myself and with this job. So...Hopefully, when I get this job, I can continue to do so and then also learn from the best in this company. 你不仅解释到了为什么你的这个 CV 上面有 career gap, 你也可以解释到你尝试的去还是继续学习，能够让这个 weakness 变成不是一个很重要的东西。
Yeah, definitely using that time to address any elephant in the room, do that. Because there's a lot of times, again, they may assume, either looking at your job history, looking at your CV, that there is something that you're not talking about. And just putting it out there will tend to give someone a better impression of, again, you have awareness, you're working on the problem, and it is actually relevant to that job itself. If we're back to the main idea where James Reed says, research shows mindset trumps skills. If it's a skill gap, that's just something that can be learned, especially in the right environment with the right mentor inside the company. Whereas a complete unawareness of your own skill set is something that's very hard, or people don't want to take the time to teach you, so they'll just pass.Yeah,
所以希望我们在这3个单元当中能够给大家多一点想法，让大家真的能够去做足够的准备去回答这些 interview 问题，而不是一直去上网去找一些模板，一些好像能够回答这些问题的一个完美的一个方式。Because there's no such thing as like the perfect way to answer each question, because you are very different from everyone else. 所以这些 mindset 是非常非常的重要，而且这些逻辑也非常的重要。
Which brings us to the main mindset of why we did this 3-part series.
Yeah.
We've thought for a long time, and we've gotten requests of doing an interview series. Now, this is not just for people who are trying to switch careers, but also looking at people who want to conduct better interviews. What kind of questions should they ask? What kind of answers should they look for? And not these just very formulaic responses, but thinking deeply about how do I present myself in the way that I answer and the way that I structure the mindset and the actual wording itself. So attached to this episode, we've actually output a survey, seeing that if people are genuinely interested in a more in-depth breakdown, especially again looking at different key questions, mindset, what's the question behind the question, and getting a better understanding if you guys would like to hear more about this or would like a more complete, say, course on this information.
没错，所以我们做了一个非常简短的 survey， 也就是希望能够做一些市场调查，了解是否大家真的是对一个很需要这种比较完整的课程。我们在刚刚开始我们这个 podcast journey 的时候，我们就做了很多关于一些 resume 或 interview 的一些相关课程。那现在我们又用了3集去聊这个主题，但是呢，其实有很多东西我们都还没有讲到，而且其实在网络上面大家如果去 Google， 虽然有很多的 information， 有非常多的 template， 很多的模板，但是有的时候太多东西反而会让很多人也不知道到底要 follow 哪一个才是对的，哪一个才是正确的一个方向。所以我们只想了解一下大家对于这方面需不需要一个完整的课程，那一些相关的一些市场调查。So 希望大家利用一点小小的时间帮我们做市场调查。Yeah, we really appreciate your time.
We hope that you enjoyed this 3-part series and share your opinions with us either in the survey or anywhere that you can find Executive Plus information. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.